Good morning and happy Thursday. Welcome back to The Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For anybody that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride, with the exception today we're going to talk about Tesla a little bit, or hear a clip from Kathy Wood and about Tesla. Let's see who's in the chat and then we'll get into this. Mr. Max Voltage says, wow, tough crowd, so impatient. Yeah, you know what? It snowed here last night, like an inch and a half. And I had ice on my wife's car, so I had, or my truck, my Ford. I have a Ford Raptor, right? So I should be able to get to work okay, but there was ice all over the fucking thing, so I had to like chip away at it, and I am freezing. I literally just ran in the house to stream, so I apologize if I'm a bit late. All right, Tim, I am Crypto. Good to see you, buddy. We have mining to fill my bags. I love that name. That's hysterical. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Sustainable Crypto, Andrew Masad. We have Black Hat Team all set. Let's see who else is here. Nismo Miner, Mike R. Good to see you, buddy. DJ Mines, as always. We got Chris Hanley in the chat. I think that's pretty much it. Let's see. Overboard Tech, good to see you, buddy. DD4, good to see you. All right, let's move on. Let's get into this because we are a bit behind today. Bitcoin looking like 66,533 bucks. We have Ethereum at 33.47. Let's see. BNB is actually killing it right now. Look at that, 5.2% up on the day. $587, man. I remember when this was like 200 bucks. Why is BNB popping? Does anybody know? Is there a reason? Yeah, but it's 1.5 inches, DJ. That's what that's it. I wanted to say that's what she said. No, but it's like slush and ice, so it was like just awful to clean off the car. We have ETC, 32 bucks. Not too bad, actually, in the deep green, 5.46% up today. We have Caspa at 13 cents, LTC at $100 even, $100.18. Not too bad. 88, 58 cents. I think this is still a good buy, in my opinion. XRP, actually, be careful, guys, on YouTube. You guys know there's scams everywhere. Send me this much, I'll send you this much back. Please be careful. I saw a bunch of XRP ones this morning. There was literally 3 I reported, so please just be careful and don't fall for that BS. Meme coins look like they're just kind of chugging along. Nothing really popping out at me too much. What is this? MNT Mantle up 9.67% today. All right, let's jump over to Crypto Bubbles. Check out the day biggest earners. So Mantle's there, 9.6, and ENA up 28.8%. This is Athena, if that's how you say that. $1.13. I don't know anything about this coin. Not a thing. Not a thing. But if you guys do hold any of it, please let me know in the chat. BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, up to $96, up 9.5% on the day. Jupiter's down 5.4%. ICP is down 5%. We have Flare is down 10.6% on the day, 3 cents, almost 4 cents. BCH, Bitcoin Cash, is up 6.8%. I think they just went through a halving yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was yesterday, because it was like, yeah, I think it was like 4 hours after our stream or something. I'll check it in a second. But anyways, yeah, HBAR up 0.6% today, 10 cents, not too bad. What is this? Wormhole. What is Wormhole? Why have I not noticed this in the top 100 before? I feel like I've heard of this, but what is it? Does anybody know? This is 18.4% down on the day. It's $1.16. Wormhole. Interesting. All right, let's move on. Flashbang, Fear and Greed Index looking like a 70 on this chart. You guys know over 75 is mainly when I like to pay attention to it. Right now, I think we're in kind of a, I know it doesn't say neutral, it says greed, but I think this is more so a neutral territory. We're kind of just floating along to see what happens. That's just my opinion. Let's jump over here. Coin Gecko, see the trending coins real quick. We have Gala, Catcoin, and Puff the Dragon. Oh, these meme coins. This is Solana coin. Let's see, I gotta check. Nope, it's not. It is not a Solana coin. What is that logo? This is DeFi stuff. Most likely DeFi, if I had to guess. Interesting. Anyways, all right, top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, Lido Staked Ether, XRP, Dogecoin, and Cardano. Again, I'll say it again, said it yesterday, said it the day before, and the week prior. This coin was most likely going to pump on the bull run. You guys do what you want, not financial advice. I have no affiliation or ties with ADA. I just got some for the first time last week. $3.09 is the all-time high. It is currently trading at 58 cents. We've had a push up in 2017 and a push up in 2021. I don't see why we wouldn't have another run in this. I didn't mean to do that. In this bull market. So do what you will with that. Let's see real quick. You know what? Neoxa. I want to see what Neoxa is looking like today. I know my man Max Voltage is trying to get his master node as well, and I still need to dive into mine. Ooh, it's actually down a bit. That's kind of but you know what? It's good if you're trying to accumulate. Maybe I should just mine to get another master node, because these things actually pay out pretty well. Let's see. All-time high. It's 90% down. That's all-time high. I think every altcoin is going to explode this season. We'll see. Let's follow up with Lithium. You know what? Lithium ASICs were talk of the town the other day or yesterday. $3. Look at that. Up 13.5% today. Nice. 24 hours. Look at this jump. I said that yesterday morning too. I was like, this coin is probably going to pop off because everybody's anticipation with these miners coming out. So it's either buy the machine or just buy the coin. You probably do pretty well. Buying the coin's probably a better idea, to be honest. Let's see. All right, it's nothing really too crazy. Render. Let's see. What are you saying? Buy ADA, Carl Code. If I were you, personally, I would. That's just me. You guys do what you want. Not financial advice. Jim C. Wormhole has an airdrop. We got in the NFT world. We got it in the NFT world, rather. Got 25K USD worth. Jim C. You are balling, sir. Congrats. That's awesome. Hell yeah. RPM called it with Lithium. Yes, he did. You know what? Never take financial advice from RPM though, because he is the worst person to get advice from. I love Panda to death, but he is like, if there's a target right here and he's 5 feet away, the string snaps when he pulls the bow back and it goes the other way every single time. Every single time. It's like without failure. I love him to death, but you know what? I guess a blind squirrel finds an acorn every once in a while. All right, 7 days on Caspa. Looks like it's been going down, still consolidating. Let's check out this right here. It's building a flag still looking pretty good. I think Caspa is gearing up for a nice move. I guess we'll have to see. It's still ranked 45th at a $3 billion market cap, so that's still impressive. All right, let's move on to the mining segment of things. That way we can get into these videos. We have the KS5 Pro 21 terahash unit. You guys know I like to timestamp this stuff at $134 a day. We have the KS5 20 terahash unit. Again, these are Caspa miners mining 1,043 Caspa per day at $127. We're looking at the Gold Shell Lithium box, the AL box, 360 gigahash unit at 180 watts. Look at this thing. Makes 41 lithium, $127 a day. I think this is literally going to go down to like a fifth of this, to be honest, when they actually arrive. And if you guys, did you guys see, oh my God, in the VIP, we posted some pictures yesterday. There was a placeholder at, oh my God, what is that company's name? I forget, but they put $99,000 for this thing as a placeholder for this little box miner. If you guys don't know, this is a little shitty box miner, and it's yeah, I don't know. And then there was somewhere else, Gold Shell. No, was it Gold Shell? No, it was Crypto Miner Bros. Yeah, Bit Miner. Thank you, Nismo. Crypto Miner Bros also put it up for $10,000. Bruh. Hell no. If this thing's over like a couple grand, no. That's just my opinion. It's not gonna make $100 a day when it comes out. Mark my words. No way. I don't believe it at all. Ice River KS5L 12 terahash unit making $72 a day. We got the IB Link BMKS Max 11 terahash unit making $62.74 a day. Oh, and by the way, the reason I say that about the lithium miner is the same thing happened with the KS0. It was making a shit ton of money when it first came out on this site, right? Or on any site. It was projected to make a buttload. And it did make a decent amount for a little bit, but it was nowhere near what it was projected as soon as it was listed, right? It was like half of that when it actually came out. So I think it's going to at least go to half, and then maybe the rewards will stay up for a bit, and then it's just going to fall the more units come out. It's kind of the same thing that happened with Casper, and then they just started making better units, and you scroll down, we'll see the KS0 in a second. Windminer K9 10.3 terahash unit making $61 a day. We got the Ice River KS3 8 terahash unit making $46.34. We got the KS3M 6 terahash unit making $32.36. Let's see, scrolling down, we got to the Antminer L7 9050 version. This is the one I got down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them, paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour down there because my electric rate is like 30 cents up here. It's disgusting. So it was a no-brainer. I'm making $17 a day down there with this unit, which is fantastic. It's crazy. Emerge Mines, Dogecoin, and Litecoin for anybody that doesn't know. And I still can't believe that these things are going for $5,500 to $6,000. This, I guess, apparently this is low. This is a low price, so I don't. This isn't like legit. But yeah, a 3-year-old machine still going for that kind of money. It blows my mind how good the L7 actually is. So if you guys can find a deal on that thing, that thing's gonna go for like double in the bull run for sure. Let's scroll down a bit. I got an S19K Pro also down there. It's still most profitable mining Digibyte, but I'm mining Bitcoin on mine, about $9 a day, which is amazing. Doing fairly well. I got the X16Q. I actually still have this thing running in my garage for supplemental heat up here. I am I'm mining ETC into Caspa on a mineable still because I'm trying to get a bit bigger bag of Caspa while ETC is up. I think that's a good move, but ETHW and ZIL is most profitable on that. Scrolling down the Ice River KS1, make it 533 a day. Where's the KS2? Right here. 2 terahash unit, make it 1067 a day. And if we look down at the KS0, this is what I was talking about. Look at this 200 gigahash unit. I know the what do they call it? Reward reduction. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Every month on Caspa is a bit different than a lithium, but it's only making $1.11 a day, right? So that box miner, please for lithium, do not spend your whole wad on that thing. Okay, that's just my opinion, but most of the time the new miners first batch usually does actually pay itself off. So I don't know, just please be careful, people. I don't want to see you guys get wrecked. All right, so let's see GPUs over here. What's the most profitable coin? Caspa Classic, the 4090, and Ironfish and Caspa Classic. Look at that, dual mining. Interesting. Ironfish and Pyron, Ironfish and Gram. Wow, looks like a lot of dual mining stuff. Nice. AMD RX 7900 XT is Gram for the most profitable. Nice. The 3090 always seems to be a bit different. I wonder why it's so much more profitable on Clore. Actually, because Clore is like a POW algorithm, so that kind of surprises me on the 3090, to be honest. Not too bad. Everything else, yeah, really just Clore, Nexa, and 90% of the cards are Ironfish in Caspa or Ironfish in Gram or Pyron, I guess. Interesting. All right, let's move on. Mr. Geek of all trades, dude, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. Chris Hanley got one, the Backwards Miner. We got Jim C, Crypto Backer, and Miss Pocket Change. Thank you very much. All right, let's check out real quick if there's any new coins here. We looked over here. This is mining pool stats.stream, no affiliation, but if you guys are interested, this is a good place to look at new mineable coins. We have Puppy Coin. That's a script miner. Looks like that's out, I don't know, 11 days ago. Again, be careful downloading any of this stuff. This bug no one, I know people were all hot and horny over for whatever reason. I don't know. But yeah, just be careful. That's all I gotta say. New place though. New place for new coins. All right, Bitcoin Cash. So I wanted to show you guys Bitcoin Cash. It was 5 hours ago. Past events. 5 hours ago. Block reward reduction from 6.25 to 3.125. So that is why we're seeing a jump up in Bitcoin Cash. Where is that? Where is BCH? Oh, right here. Duh. Literally right in front of my face. $644. Damn. That's crazy. That's crazy. Anyways, we have other halvings coming up. eCash in 7 days, Isotope C 8 days, Bitcoin SV in 9 days, Radiant in 14 days, and Bitcoin, the OG, is in 16 days. Ooh, look at that Octaspace. I have some Octaspace in 22 days. Nice. Look at that. Not too shabby. Again, Geek of all trades, dude, thank you so much. You're awesome. I really appreciate you. All right, let's get into this. We are going to see the Fed may cut more than 3 times this year, says Fun Strats Tom Lee. You guys know Tom Lee is usually on point with his calls for government, Fed rates, and all this stuff, stocks, yada yada. So I like to hear what he's got to say. Let's get into this, guys. That like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. I hate asking, but YouTube makes me. Let's do it.
Who might be right? Let's talk about it with another guy who's pretty successful in his own right. That is Tom Lee. He is the managing partner and head of research at Fundstrat. If you had to go on Team Cohen, which I guess is the Mets, and Team Einhorn, like I'll call that the Brewers because he's from Milwaukee, which team would you be on, Tom Lee?
Well, I hope I don't get judged, but I'd be on the Team Mets and Cohen.
Why is that? Lay it out.
Well, I think that the reason the idea of cuts was being rolled back was the January and February inflation reports globally showed inflation was accelerating. And part of that is a statistical aberration. There's just some really poor seasonal adjustments that take place. The March CPI reports coming out of Europe have shown a big collapse from those January, February levels. Like Eurozone, it's back to 2.4%. The March CPI for the US is coming out next week, which is April 10th. And by the time the Fed meets in June, there's going to be a total of 3 inflation reports, March, April, May. I think by then, markets are going to be a lot more confident that inflation is falling, and the 3 cuts actually may be too low. There's a possibility there's more than 3 cuts this year.
Okay. Wow. I tweeted out a poll yesterday, and I think we might get less or maybe none, but that's why you do what you do, and I sit here on this side of the camera, Tom. If we get 1 cut, if we get 2 cuts, if we get 3 cuts, if we get 4 cuts, does that change your end-of-year S&P target? I mean, does another 0.5 percentage point off the Fed funds rate matter to the S&P 500 in the short term?
Brian, I think the number of cuts won't matter as much as the reason the Fed is titrating its cuts. If the Fed is titrating its cuts because the economy is showing resilience, so it's strong, but not necessarily inflationary, I think the market would take that as quite dovish because it's really a Fed trying to manage the business cycle. If the Fed is cutting back its number of cuts because inflation is reaccelerating, that would actually be incrementally bearish. So I think that the rationale actually is more important than the number of cuts.
Okay, well said. Tom, I want to switch gears a bit. The Federal Reserve, we've been focused on inflation for 3 years, but the Federal Reserve's dual mandate also looks at job growth. And a new article today in the Wall Street Journal highlights a rather curious trend in the difference between the 2 ways that the federal government measures employment. And if you read between the lines in the journal's article, it implies that much of our recent job growth, maybe a majority of it, is due to immigration. Much of that, of course, would be undocumented immigration and those seeking asylum. In fact, the CBO, Tom, just raised population growth estimates to account for the millions who've crossed the border in the last few years, leaving out all political arguments about the border. We're talking about the markets here. Do we care? And Morgan Stanley alluded to the same issue kind of yesterday. Do we care where the job growth really comes from when we're looking at markets and the Fed?
Brian, it's objectively, it's actually a good thing because we know the Phillips curve's kind of been busted. That's supposed to measure unemployment rates and wage inflation, and we've had unemployment sort of pinned at these levels and wage inflation isn't accelerating. So it shows that we're adding jobs, we're adding to the worker supply and actually adding to aggregate demand without creating inflation. And on balance, that's quite positive. And does it matter where this labor supply is being filled? It's a great question, but as you know, I mean, the U.S. is essentially a nation of immigrants anyway, so I don't think necessarily immigrant labor driving, wage growth and demand growth and filling jobs is a bad thing.
Interesting. All right. Shout out to Tom Lee for that. Let's move on. Miss Kathy Wood over here, the ARK Invest CEO, Kathy Wood, Tesla. What is that? I can't even read that word. Autonomized? I don't even know how that says that. The convergence among technologies that we see today. I apologize. I can't read that. I don't even know what that says. Let's move on.
Annual Sports Global Leadership Conference is hosted by Bruin Capital and Sports.
Talks about Tesla.
Got a huge lineup of great guests all morning, including Washington Capitals owner Ted Leonsis, who's going to join us in just a little bit. And then in the next hour, in the first time he's ever been on CNBC, hedge fund manager, New York Mets owner, and of course the chairman and CEO.
So if you guys are interested, they interviewed a whole bunch of people yesterday, and they don't have they said they were going to talk to Kathy Wood about Bitcoin in this one. So I'm assuming they're going to put it out at some point today, but she didn't talk about it in yesterday's videos or clips rather. So
a .72
we'll see.
Wall Street veteran.
If he gets dropped
Steve
later.
Cohen will be with us, and we've got a lot of questions for him. But right now, we are joined by Kathy Wood, ARK Invest CEO and CIO, who's going to be speaking here a little bit later. It's great to see you this morning.
Great to see you, Andrew.
There's about 100 things to talk about, including Bitcoin and the distinction between what's happening with Bitcoin right now and gold and the like. But I do want to start on Tesla.
Sure.
Because we've seen the price action in Tesla, which has fallen on the back of worse than expected numbers. And I'm just so curious what you think is happening at Tesla right now, and whether, and there are some analysts out there that now have gotten bearish or starting to believe that we are at some kind of big inflection point.
Right. So I think a couple of things are going on. First, and Elon's been talking about this in the quarterly calls, the consumer is under pressure. There is, even though these economic statistics are coming out and saying everything's just fine, you listen to these company reports one by one, most of them do not sound like these economic statistics are suggesting. And I think Tesla's been telegraphing the high rates. They've been cutting prices to offset them. And they will continue to cut prices. So I think there's economic weakness. There has been a bit of a backlash, I would say, and a pause, because you do have GM and Ford saying, wait a minute, we're going to take a pause here ourselves because we can't do this profitably. By the way, that's a positive for Tesla, you know, to have the competition doing this. And Tesla's just going full steam ahead. So I do think part of it's economic. And you can use all these other excuses. But if that is the case, what's going to happen, we believe, during the next 5 years, and you know that's our investment time horizon, we think the cost of an electric vehicle, the average electric vehicle, is going to be cut in half. And Tesla's new block manufacturing techniques and technology, along with AI, are a big part of this.
Wait, what? Cut in half? Cut in half? That's crazy.
So, and you've been buying on this weakness,
well,
if you want to call it.
For the record, I want to buy a Tesla. I do. When I found out, like, you never have to change brake pads or do any maintenance on the thing, it's crazy. It just says, like, in the manual, just bring it in when you need it and rotate your tires every, like, so often. But there's no oil changes. There's no brake pads. Like, crazy. It's just crazy. But the only thing that sucks, actually, about Teslas and this whole EV electric vehicle shit is now when you go to sell a house, now I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at least in this area, we have to have an electric car plug-in in the garage now per code. So if you don't have that, it's going to be like having a Title V on a septic tank when you guys go to sell your houses. If I had to guess, that's probably what it's going to turn into at some point.
So as we were selling when it was around 400 and 350, when it's been cut in half, down 60%, is not the time to run for the hills. If you believe Tesla is going to be, in this we also believe, the autonomous taxi network, certainly of the United States.
Right now, people are starting to think about Tesla again as a car company. I mean, I think that's what part of what's happened here in terms of the valuation cut has been people said at one point, oh, this is a tech company, right? This is an AI company. This is all sorts of things. And then there were always these bears saying, well, actually, guys, it's not that at all. It's a car company. Now, some people are saying, well, maybe it's a car company. What is it? And how, for the valuation to sustain itself and actually to move higher, does it have to be what you just talked about, a robo-taxi company, a AI company, and all of the above?
It epitomizes the convergence among technologies that we are seeing today. And
real quick, Eagle Trade says, wait till the EVs with the interchangeable batteries come out. He said, F waiting to charge, swap the dead battery out for another one and drive away. Imagine it's like a Milwaukee car. You just take a freaking 12-volt battery and you snap it into it and it just goes. You just put a bunch in the back seat in case you run out on the way. That's crazy. That'd be a riot. You know what? That's probably not out of the realm of possibility. It's just going to be a way bigger battery to click in. You know what I mean?
The robo-taxi network is not an if, it's a when. It's already happening. Waymo is out there, you know, proof of concept. So it is going to happen. And if you've tried version 12.3 FSD, you'll see that Tesla...
This is the full self-driving mode that we should say is not fully self-driving just yet.
Correct.
But it will be self-driving soon. You guys are saying that already exists in China? They already have them? What? Do they really? That's insane. That's cool as shit, though. I'd buy one just for fun.
If you drive, if using it, you will find that it is becoming more precise, but also a little more aggressive, like a human being would be, instead of this, you know, more cautious. Right. So I think we're getting there, yes, but it epitomizes three technologies: robotics. These cars are and will be robots, and of course he's got the whole humanoid robot going as well. Energy storage. Autos in the future will be electric. We believe in 5 years, 75% to 85% of all sales will be electric. Here in the United States and around the world.
Even with the pullback that we've had,
yes,
in terms
right
of
now,
EVs and the adoption.
Think about this. Yes, because if we're right on what's going to happen to auto prices, the average EV will be in the $20,000 to $25,000 range. The average gas-powered car will be about where it is right now, or a little more.
When you have the GMs and the Fords and everybody else saying we can't even make these things profitably to begin with, let alone.
Yeah, that's crazy. Isn't the batteries like a crazy amount of money? How are they going to cut it that much?
To do it at half the price.
And just think,
what's a normal Tesla go for now? Anybody let me know in the chat. Anybody that has one, throw it in the chat. Like, what did it cost you, I guess? Because I really have no idea
about this. Tesla's doing it profitably and cutting prices in the process. It's pretty phenomenal. Can I just go the convergence idea?
Yeah.
One more. Robots, energy storage, they will be electric, 75, 85% in 5 years. And then artificial intelligence. This is the biggest AI project in the world. If NVIDIA is worth what it's worth, and we believe it's worth what the market's paying for.
Tesla Model S was $83,000 in 2015. Bruh. That's disgusting.
We think it's going to have an inventory correction out there. It happens regularly. Okay. You know, we've been.
Oh, Dan R said his is. He said you get the Model S for $34,490 after mass tax rebates. Nice. That's really not bad, actually.
Very many inventory cycles I have over the years with NVIDIA. So definitely going to see an inventory cycle as companies reassess, okay, wait, how do we get ready for this AI age? And there is a reassessment process. We're going through it ourselves. But if NVIDIA is, if its valuation is correct.
Hold on. $71,000 Model S, it says. Get the f out of here.
This AI project has to work.
What is Tesla worth? If you were willing to sell it at $300 or $400 and you're buying it now, what is it worth in 5 years?
$2,000. We're in print on that.
Look at that. $2,000 Tesla in 5 years. She's calling for. It's at $164 right now. That's crazy. That's awesome. That's a great ROI. Right? So, I don't know. Phil, do what you want.
Yes.
Let me ask you another.
Think about that. It's down 60%. This reminds me very much of 2018-19. We're in a bit of a trading range, and we will be until more and more analysts, investors understand how provocative the convergence of these three technologies is going to be.
Let me ask you this. When you think about the Magnificent Seven, a lot of people have taken Magnificent Seven and now called it the Fabulous Four or the something else, but Tesla's not in it anymore.
Right.
Is that the right way to think about it? What does your Magnificent Seven look like today? I always think about your fund as a lot of the Magnificent Seven.
Not really. We have actually, if you look at the overlap of our fund with the NASDAQ or the S&P 500, very little overlap, maybe 5%. Tesla, Meta Platforms. We think AI could be quite disruptive. There are other disruptive forces taking place that could dislodge some of the Mag 6. I mean, the GPT-4, for example. I don't have to go through Google anymore. I can just say, take me to a place where I can buy these shoes at the cheapest price for delivery, free delivery, in 2 days. You know, that's disintermediation. That's technology at work.
All right, shout out to Kathy Wood real quick in the chat. Somebody said, how much was the Raptor? So I bought my Raptor in 2013, brand new, for $54,000. It was expensive back then, for sure. It's 10 years old now, but nonetheless, I still love that truck. It's the original 6.2. All right, so let's get into this. CNBC Crypto World, Bitcoin holds at 65,000, and ARK's Bitcoin ETF sees $87 million in outflows. Let's see what CNBC Crypto World's got to say over here.
Today, Bitcoin recovers some of yesterday's losses. KBW raises its price target on Coinbase, but still sees regulatory headwinds for the crypto exchange. And Custodia CEO Caitlin Long discusses what's next for the bank after a federal judge dismissed its lawsuit against the Fed.
Cook4015 says a new Raptor today is like 105K. Yeah, dude, you're not wrong. And that's like, honestly, I could sell my Raptor that's 10 years old for the same amount I bought it for back in 2013. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane.
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Brandon Gomez. Bitcoin and Ether are bouncing back from yesterday's sell-off. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin rose 1.5% to the $65,000 level. Ether jumped 2.7% to $33.30, and Solana soared 6.5% to $189.
And I only got like 80,000 miles on that truck, so it's not bad.
Okay, let's talk about the top stories. ARK Invest's Cathie Wood joined CNBC's Squawk Box earlier this morning to discuss the recent moves in Bitcoin. Now, when asked about its correlation with U.S. Fed policy and markets, she emphasized that investors outside the U.S. are turning to Bitcoin due to devaluation of their local currencies.
There are currency devaluations taking place that people are not talking about. The Nigerian naira is down 50-60% in the last 9 months. Egypt just devalued by 40%. Argentina continuing to devalue. I think this is a flight to safety, believe it or not, taking place. A hedge against devaluation, a hedge against a loss of purchasing power and wealth. That's very important. And we saw this even here last year in the United States. Regional banks imploded. Bitcoin went up 40%.
Meanwhile, ARK Invest's spot Bitcoin ETF in partnership with 21 Shares has seen a wave of outflows in recent days. According to Farside Investors, the ARK B Fund saw more than $87 million in outflows on Tuesday, surpassing the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Next, KBW raised its price target for Coinbase to $230 from $160. Now, this new target is still below what the stock is trading at today as of noon Eastern, but the more optimistic sentiment is a result of surging volume in Q1 and growing USDC balances. Coinbase saw an average daily volume of $5.1 billion in March, up more than double from $2.4 billion in February. Still, the report pointed to risks tied to Coinbase's revenue, which is highly correlated with crypto markets. KBW thinks that could lead to trouble in the event of adverse regulation for the crypto industry. The report also predicts a long-term risk of fee compression. Now, that said, Coinbase shares have jumped more than 40% so far this year.
Yeah.
All right, for our main story, Crypto World's Jordan Smith spoke with Caitlin Long, founder and CEO of Custodia Bank. She discussed the next steps for the bank after a judge dismissed its lawsuit against the Fed, also giving her outlook on the crypto industry for 2024.
Caitlin, thank you so much for being here. I want to start right off the top with this ruling that we got earlier this week, a federal judge dismissing your challenge to the Fed Bank of Kansas City's denial of a master account. This is something that Custodia has been pushing for some time. Can I ask what the next steps are in this decision? And is there an appeal in the works? And what's the plan for Custodia going forward?
Well, we are considering appeal. We did say that right after the news was announced. And our Bitcoin custody business is unaffected. And we're still in the US dollar banking business through partner banks. Obviously, we've had one hand tied behind our back, or arguably two hands tied behind our back, because
Is she wearing a Bitcoin necklace?
Unfairly and illegally, in my view, we've not been able to get a master account, but this is not over yet.
I think she's got a Bitcoin hanging right here on her necklace.
Just so people are aware, can you talk about what the benefit of a master account would be for Custodia? You mentioned that you have partner banks right now. You are still operating as a business. This hasn't hindered your ability to operate so far. But how would a master account change your business compared to how it operates right now?
Yeah, this is what's relevant to the Bitcoin market in particular. Bitcoin and crypto generally trade 24/7, 365, but FedWire does not. And so what that means is there's a mismatch in timing of settlement between crypto and US dollars. And that in a way, if you step back, the foreign exchange market has continuous linked settlement. It's literally called CLS Bank for foreign exchange markets. And in the Bitcoin world, Signature and Silvergate created what was effectively a private CLS bank with their Signet and Sen networks that allowed customers to, through internal transfers just on those individual banks' ledgers, to settle US dollars 24/7, 365. And so you could have a continuous linked settlement between US dollars and Bitcoin. That when those banks failed, which they deserved to fail, they were they were holding only 10 cents of cash against demand deposits that could disappear within the span of hours. The bank regulators suicided those networks, and it was a mistake because now there is no way to settle US dollars 24/7, 365 in size. There are one or two small banks still doing it in small size. But now here come the Bitcoin ETFs, where you've actually got a lot more volume of US dollars and a lot more trading volume in Bitcoin happening after Fedwire hours. And what that means is that all those unsettled transactions are just piling up. It's called Herstatt risk for people who are familiar with the foreign exchange market. And when Herstatt Bank failed back in the 70s, it created cascading defaults. And CLS Bank was the answer to that. Well, the Bitcoin world had our private versions of that, and bank regulators just didn't want them to exist. But now, by having Sen and Signet suicided and Custodia iced, what that means is that risk is not manageable. And moreover, it's sitting in the global systemically important banks because they're the clearing banks for the Bitcoin ETFs.
While I have you, I want to move outside of just this lawsuit and talk about crypto more broadly and specifically about Bitcoin. These ETFs are seeing huge uptake. And as someone who is a veteran of Wall Street, I'm just curious for your reaction to the embrace of these ETFs, for one, and whether you feel they're complementary to Bitcoin and its sort of thesis as an asset, or whether they're opposite of the vision for Bitcoin.
Well, I've always said that Bitcoin ETFs are a double-edged sword. I started writing about that back in 2018 for Forbes when I saw this train coming and saw mainstream Wall Street institutions get into Bitcoin. And why are they a double-edged sword? Clearly, they bring a new pipe for demand, a very wide pipe for demand, because it's just frankly easier and folks, are comfortable buying financial assets through their brokerage accounts. And registered investment advisors in particular have an incentive to help customers who are interested in buying Bitcoin to buy it in that format, an ETF. The problem that's the other side of the sword is that all the Wall Street leverage games start getting played. Now, I do take my hat off to the SEC because they did something right here. I've been very critical of them in other contexts, but here, very praising. They prohibited the ETF issuers from being allowed to rehypothecate the underlying Bitcoin collateral. Good.
That's a good thing. That's actually a really good thing. So like the fact that it's basically they have to hold the amount of Bitcoin that they sell in the ETFs, right? Like it has to be collateralized, right? So they can't just over leverage their shit and, extend past what they have extra on top of whatever they've sold. So that's good.
Them, because that means some of the leverage games that Wall Street plays cannot be played on these Bitcoin ETFs, unlike the underlying collateral in other Bitcoin ETFs, which can be rehypothecated. So there isn't going to be hidden leverage, assuming the issuers actually comply, which I assume they will. But the other piece of it, though, is that the leverage can be piled on top of the layers, and it will. So the ETFs, of course, can be leveraged, just like any other security. They can be rehypothecated. You can borrow against them in your margin account, etc. And once you start doing that, you start to get the commingling and substitution of collateral. That's where the leverage can start to get out of control. And as we've seen, Bitcoin in the last cycle had a lot of credit losses as leveraged Bitcoin lenders blew up. I've been attributed the phrase, a fool and his leveraged Bitcoin are soon parted. And I do believe that that's true. And we're going to see.
If any of you guys traded on leverage or leveraged anything, usually get wrecked unless you're like really good at trading, but
leveraged Bitcoin ETFs now. Again, Wall Street has some important lessons to learn here that Bitcoin's a different animal. There isn't anyone who's going to be able to create more of it. There are no clearinghouses like there are for other types of financial assets. And so if someone gets themselves net short on actual underlying Bitcoin, and there is a short squeeze, it's going to be ugly for them. And I worry because the risk systems of traditional finance, like we talked about the Herstatt risk on the US dollar piece earlier, they're not set up for something that settles so fast. There are so many in the security side of Wall Street, so many fault tolerances for operational risk, for failures to deliver, etc. There is no such fault tolerance in Bitcoin.
This may seem like quite the tonal shift, but I am curious, what most excites you about crypto in 2024? It feels like the energy is back for the space and we're hitting new all-time highs for Bitcoin. What are you watching that's got your attention on a positive note?
Well, the demand coming from the ETFs. The wirehouses aren't here yet. So we've seen this first big wave. And obviously we had more selling from the grayscale, from the bankruptcies and the like. We're not entirely through that yet. So it's been a bumpy ride. But the halving's coming and the Bitcoin ETFs demand in that, I think it's going to be spectacular. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a pullback in the price, as is usually the case after the halving. There will be a number of miners whose mining facilities become unprofitable. The hash rate will dip as those miners shut off their unprofitable machines. And then there'll be a J curve. And then the price will rally again. If past is prologue, that'll start later this fall. And we will be, I think, if past is prologue, and I think there's a pretty high probability this is exactly how it plays out. The punchline is we will be in a rip-roaring bull market around the time of the U.S. presidential election. And I think it's going to be very ironic that this Biden-Warren crowd has been so anti-Bitcoin because it might just be in a rip-roaring rally right in their faces at the time of the election.
All right.
Damn. That would be very, very interesting for the election. All right. Well, shout out to that lady and her Bitcoin necklace. All right. Let's get into this. We have Bitcoin alert. Having crash, rare signal flashing. Let's see what Mr. Crypto Zombie's going to say over here. You guys know I like to watch his channel. Full link is in the description below if you guys are interested in his channel or anybody else here that we watched today. And yeah, I don't know. I think we're probably going to see some sort of pullback right after the halving. I don't think she's wrong there. We see it all the time, but I mean, again, who knows how big it's going to be. The ETF is such a different animal this time around. We don't know what's really going to happen. We've already broken the all-time high, which has never happened before halving. We've already gotten 7 green candles or monthly green candles in a row, which has only happened one time in its existence. So if we get an 8th candle this month, who knows? We really, it could go crazy.
Larry Fink on our network last week made a lot of news. I mean, are you surprised at how much someone like him he has come around? I mean, a couple of years ago, he was definitely in a no Bitcoin camp.
This is not hey, I woke up one day and all of a sudden I think Bitcoin's good now.
Right.
They went and they did the work, they did the research, they really spent a lot of time. Now, Larry Fink is one of the kings of finance. If Larry Fink says, hey, I think this has got a shot, people are going to listen.
Sure.
And so what's interesting is the messenger really matters. There's things that Bitcoiners have been saying for 10, 15 years, but now all of a sudden when it comes from Larry Fink, it has a different weight to it.
Yeah.
And so I think that we should only continue to see the traditional finance folks kind of take those same talking points and repeat them in different mediums.
It's like every parent knows that, right? You can tell your kids something over and over again, and Taylor Swift says it, then it's right. Okay.
Bitcoin is sending us a major signal right now, a major potential clue.
Taylor Swift says it, and then it's right.
That could hint as to what could be happening next for the price action. So what is going on, everyone? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, the thing that I want...
Real quick, Ogre in the chat actually asked if Bitcoin was going to be over leveraged inside BlackRock. He said BlackRock going to cheat on leverage thing in BTC ETFs, so they can leverage the ETF itself. They can't leverage on the Bitcoin that they hold to hold as collateral for the ETFs, if that makes sense. So like the underlying asset can't be affected, which is like awesome, right? The ETFs themselves, whatever, it is what it is.
Want to point out is that Bitcoin just closed its highest monthly candle of all time. I mean, not literally, this happened 3 days ago, but you know what I'm saying, guys. Highest monthly candle. Now, the thing that a lot of people are concerned about right now is, number one, we did get this price drop. So why did the price have this drop? Well, there is this circulating news about the US government initiating a test transaction to potentially sell 30,000 Bitcoin that they confiscated from the Silk Road. So that's like almost $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, roughly.
It's crazy how they can take stolen Bitcoin and sell it for profit. But if you do it, you're going in jail for a bit. We're just going to take this. We'll let you out in a year. No problem.
So they have 2,000 of it right now that was sent to
crazy.
Coinbase Prime. So again,
like, don't you think they like ethically should just burn the shit, right? But of course, the government wants all the money they can get, so they're just gonna take it.
people are speculating maybe we're going to have some kind of a dump, right? Now,
I think we will have some sort of dump from that because they're going to intentionally try to force it down because it's went effing crazy in the past, however, many months.
Worried about this specifically? No, not really, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, we've had a lot of these different types of scares when it comes to Mt. Gox, confiscated Bitcoin. And you know what? At the end of the day, could it maybe make things a little bit weird in the short term? Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think if anything, it would provide an opportunity to buy some cheap Bitcoin if they were to just dump all $2 billion at once, although that doesn't seem very likely. So, could that have something to do with it? That's a possibility.
Is that true? Panera cards? In Dubai, they confiscate the high-end cards and give them to the police force for police vehicles. Do they really? That's insane. They take your car and give it to the police force. Nerd Beast, why am I wrong? Tell me why I'm wrong.
Possibility. The other thing to point out is, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green candles.
Or am I not wrong because you took it back? Let me see. Let's see. I need my COD said, yep, government ethically should we pay taxes on multiple times on used items like houses and cars. Yeah, I know.
Now, Bitcoin has never, in its history, unless someone can show me a chart that I'm unaware of, has never put in 8 monthly candles. We have always followed 7 months by at least 1 red candle. So this is why everyone is saying, are we looking to have a big correction this month? So I'm going to...
I got you, Nerd Beast. You said you're not wrong about the BTC should be burnt. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, they're not going to do that because they want all the money they can get.
We'll talk about a lot of different things today, put a lot of stuff into perspective, a little bit of a shorter video, guys, but it is something that I wanted to mention. We do have the halving coming up. And it does keep fluctuating between April 19th and April 20th, and I'm sure a certain community would love for that to fall on 420. But regardless, in about 16 days, we do
Wake
have
and
the
bake
Bitcoin
stream.
halving. So just kind of looking at some quick TA right now. If you see where we are,
when is that? Anyways, what day is that?
we're pretty much just forming this giant pennant, right? And it's a possibility that Bitcoin could bounce sideways into the halving, which is this pink area right here. Could we have a fake out? Of course we could. I mean, there's always a chance that you come down to this area and then maybe what we start forming is a descending triangle. So then yes, in that sense, maybe that would be bad for the Bitcoin price. But if we have a look at the broader picture and we just stop looking at the smaller time frames, the reality is that we have entered a massive trend like we started back here. You could see once Bitcoin gets above this, touching these green areas is basically, by the dip territory. And once you start going extremely parabolic, you're lucky to even just get into some of these lighter blue EMAs. If we have a look what we did right here, we actually had a perfect touch right here at around that $60,000 area. And because the trend is moving to the upside, remember the trend is your friend. This does suggest that it would be quite shocking to see this type of a trend starting to only then have it immediately reverse. So could we have a red month for April? Historically speaking, that's what you would expect. But again, there's a lot of things that we did not expect, like a new all-time high before the halving, right? So I think it's pretty clear at this point that this cycle is different. But before we get to some of the crazy potential realistic price targets, which I want to go over where Bitcoin could actually end up going this cycle, I just got reminded about this video that came out literally
Bitcoin tops $8,000. Please bring me back in time.
4 years ago when Bitcoin was around $8,000 and Anthony Pompliano is having a debate with Kevin O'Leary about why or why not you should or shouldn't be investing into Bitcoin. And I just think it's really hilarious. If you actually took the advice of Kevin Leary, well, you probably wouldn't be too happy right now.
Mr. Wonderful thinks it's worthless.
Well, I
called it garbage this morning.
I want to explore the idea. I did say that. I want to explore the
called it garbage this morning. He's like, yeah, I did say that.
Idea that there's nothing here except raw speculation. No different than when I go to Las Vegas and put my money on black or red on a roulette wheel, because where is the intrinsic value inherent in deploying real capital? Let's talk real money here, and putting it into Bitcoin as a storage of value. I get gold. For 2,000 years, including the Romans, they saw value in owning that as an asset class. Tell me why this, which is basically a digital game, that's the way I look at it, has any intrinsic value. When people actually put real money into this, they make no interest, they can't pay their taxes with it, the regulators don't like it, which is always a problem.
No, you can't pay your taxes with it, but you got to pay taxes on it.
Compliance. And where's the long-term value? Just this idea that they're going to cut the number of units in half, that's such a scam. Like, that's just totally BS.
So I would say two things. One is
it's an ungovernmented protocol, right? It has its own schedule. It's never going to change. Nobody can control it. That's why he thinks it's a scam.
disruptive technology. So if you look at it from a technology standpoint,
but that also has an odor of BS to it.
Look, everything that's new seems different, right, in the beginning. And I think what you've got to realize is with Bitcoin specifically, money is a belief system. So the US dollar, the only reason why you and I use it is because we believe it has value. So if I give you $1, you give me a good or service in exchange. Right. We believe that it has value.
That's a good point.
Bitcoin has value because two people who exchange it believe it has that value. And what we're seeing is the volume, right? Look at people using it. That's ultimately what matters.
What about all the other crypto crap? There's lots of other coins.
I believe Bitcoin is the king and is going to stay the king for a very long time.
So I taught a class at Harvard 18 months ago that young people in that class challenged me. I put $100 into something called Coinbase, which is a wallet thing. And
you buy Bitcoin?
I bought them all. I bought all the crypto crap. I put $100 in. It's now worth 30.
A multi-billionaire. I just put $100 in. Bro, that's like literally he wipes his ass with hundreds. And that's all he put in. Crazy. Anyways, real quick, Sat Yoshi said, didn't he back FTX? He was paid by FTX. Mr. Wonderful over here was paid by them to promote something. Yes, but I think he got whacked and had to pay it back or something.
It's a 70% loss on my crypto crap. Now, I bought them all. I think that really sucks. And I think people should understand today the hot digital is Bitcoin. Tomorrow it could be whatever, right?
Again, I think that Bitcoin, the reason why Bitcoin is getting so much attention, it's the best performing asset in the last decade. Right, it's drastically outperformed S&P, every other kind of financial asset that's out there. And the second thing is the institutions are coming in because Bitcoin is actually a better store of value. It's more transparent and more secure. So for your portfolio, here's the number one thing I can tell you as to why you should own Bitcoin. It's a non-correlated asymmetric return asset that the value drivers of all of your equities, everything else is tied to earnings, GDP, interest rates, et cetera.
The problem is that Bitcoin's not tied to anything.
Well, neither is U.S. dollars, and how big is your cash position?
You know, I look, I love your optimistic view.
Did you just hear that? Listen to that.
Store of value, it's more transparent and more secure. So for your portfolio, here's the number one thing I can tell you as to why you should own Bitcoin. It's a non-correlated asymmetric return asset that the value drivers of all of your equities, everything else is tied to earnings, GDP, interest rates, et cetera.
The problem is that Bitcoin's not tied to anything.
Well, neither is U.S. dollars, and how big is your cash position?
You know,
neither is U.S. dollars, and how big is your cash position? That's hysterical.
I love your optimistic view of it. You haven't changed my mind at all. It's still garbage, and I'm not going to take real money and put it into this thing. It's never going to happen. I mean, imagine real money, taking real dollars that I'm making in cash 2.1% on and putting it into crypto crap.
Agree to disagree.
And I bet,
Absolutely.
I bet Mr. Wonderful is kicking himself right in the ass now.
Crypto crap, garbage.
Garbage is better than garbage.
Right.
So honestly, that was just a fun clip revisiting. I love looking at these older
4
clips.
years ago.
You know, even Andrew Ross Sarkin, one of the hosts on there, he just came out this morning and he's still doubtful about Bitcoin. Now, you had a chance when it was 8,000. You were doubtful. It's 65,000.
Andrew's that guy on CNBC. He's this guy, the emoji in the chat. I'm putting it in there now.
Still doubtful. It's like, you know, maybe at some point, people just don't wake up. And that's fine. You know, if you don't want to get into Bitcoin, you know, do you. And obviously, as the price goes up, we're going to have sellers. You know, it's going to happen. People are going to take profits. But you have to really just look at the metrics. Look at the numbers. For example, Bitcoin ETF saw a record volume of $111 billion in March. $111 billion. Now, to put that into perspective, that is triple the inflows from February. Triple. And yet, some people are bearish. Still, it's insane when you actually look at these metrics. And right here, you know, like Bitcoin News pointed out in this chart, even at the price that we're at right now, Bitcoin has been profitable about 99.92% of the days since its launch, really with only about 6 days in its entire history in which had you bought, you would be down. So it's
real quick. Erted said, no, he's not, as he bought in just like Diamond is saying, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. He probably is buying it in the background, just like Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan. Friggin' investing, telling everybody else they're not investing because it's crap, which is crap.
Would be quite surprising if there are any people watching that have bought Bitcoin and are down, unless, of course, you sold for a loss. And this is all happening during a time in which inventories continue to fall.
And that's a good point. If you've sold for a loss, then that's on you. If you just held it, most people are in the green.
That the balance on exchanges continues to become less and less and less as the price continues to go up and up and up, right? This is an obvious correlation that we're seeing between that with the inflows of the ETFs as well as a lot of other major factors. So this is what I want to talk about today, and this is what Bitcoin is showing us, because this has only happened a handful of times for Bitcoin, and the last time that it did this, we saw price skyrocket about 200%. And
Eric Cards, you're 100% right. Stop listening to what people say on TV. LOL, they are paid shills. Entertainment, 100%. Every time, if you guys notice, like, they just live off... Yeah, literally entertainment. That's all it is. They just want to, when the price of Bitcoin comes down, oh my God, it's crashing, it's going to zero. The price of Bitcoin goes up. That's all they could talk about. It's like they do whatever they say on TV. It's literally like the reverse Kramer effect, right? Whatever they're saying on TV, do the opposite, and usually you'll make out.
And that is pretty much when you start to test this top moving average of the pi cycle indicator. So what it's showing us, you see there's always that little bit of resistance. At first, what happens? We dance around the lower band. Then it becomes support. Then we move off of it and we hit this resistance right here. And if we go back to the last time, that is exactly what happened. You could see right here, we were dancing around this area as support on the lower band. We had this move to the upside, and then we had this consolidation. Now, this consolidation lasted 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And on the 5th week, we broke above it. And that's where we stayed above it and we continued on the parabolic trend. Well, if we look at where we are today, we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are at the 5th week. Now, of course, history does not have to exactly repeat. We've seen, obviously, there's been a lot of things that did not repeat or play out exactly, but they do leave us these clues. Now, I know what you're saying. You're probably saying, well, how do we know that it wasn't something like this down here? Didn't it do something similar? Well, let's dive into that, because I also have the market cipher indicator down here, and you can see that the conditions that we're having right now, in order for Bitcoin really to maintain, or generally speaking, when it does have these parabolic trends, you have this red RSI tapping on the 100 multiple times. And I just want to say something, by the way, just because something is overbought doesn't mean it can't remain overbought for a long period of time, and vice versa, right? Just because something's oversold doesn't mean it can't remain oversold for a long period of time. And that's sometimes hard for people to understand, like, oh, it's getting too hot, it's overheating, it can't go any higher. No, actually it can. This is just letting you know that we're getting into that territory, but it doesn't mean that the momentum needs to stop, because as you can see right here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 touches on this area before we really started to see it go to the downside. So that's the first thing. You could say that we didn't even reach that level. We only got up to about 74. So that would make this canceled out. That would not be the same scenario. The other thing you could just look at is,
well, that was also the COVID crash right here.
How long have you been in the money flow until you reach that signal? Well, we reached that signal right here at about 161 days, right? That's what we've currently done right here. And, if we go back to what it did for the money flow in this area, it had only really been in there for about a month. Okay, so you could see that the trend was not as strong. So this makes me think that if I had to guess where we are based on the data, we are right here. The other thing that also makes me feel that that's correct is if we just simply look at it, not only is it corresponding or correlating or whatever you want to say with that area, but it's also lined up exactly with the previous all-time high. So we have the high consolidation as well as underneath that pi cycle moving average. And again, if we take it right here, to the top, you could see that's kind of what we're doing. We're dancing around it a little bit. So again, these numbers, they're not exact, but this is definitely showing me that we are potentially moving into a much broader, more expansive part of this market. I mean, even if you have...
Can't wait. Real quick, Alien Black in the chat said, you can smell the explosion. It's like every altcoin is watching BTC dance around the all-time high. Just sit back, build your alt bags, and wait. And you know what? I agree. you can't say every, but most altcoins are gonna friggin' explode, and that's just how it is. Like, put your money in 10 of them, one of them's inevitably gonna pop off at some point, right? So I would say more than 10 is gonna pop off, but just bank on at least. I mean, more than one's going to pop off out of the 10, but at least, bank on one of them popping off pretty good.
Have a look at the parabolic line from Rider Algo.
And like I said, ADA is definitely one of those coins that's probably going to be an easy 6x. Just my opinion. You guys do with it as you will.
Whenever it breaks above that, you tend to have a very nice continuation to the upside. And as you guys can see right here, we have in fact crossed above that area, right? So here's where it gets interesting. Let's talk about possible price predictions. Now, I'm not even going to go crazy moon boy math. I'm not going to, there were some early cycles where, we absolutely shattered. No, we're just going to talk about things that every single cycle Bitcoin has actually done, right? And if you just use this simple extension of the
this simple extension is like 1,000 of them on here. That's hysterical. It reminds me of that meme. It's simple math and there's like numbers all over the board. The guy's like pointing around. Mr. Rud Puts, thank you so much for the 249 euro Raven to the moon beers. Let's go. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. You guys are gonna hear DJ scream. I gotta run upstairs real quick and tend to my kid, so I'll be right back.
Fibonacci, you could see how these levels, it's pretty incredible how at some point the chart tends to interact with them, right? So the first thing that we can extrapolate, and I'm not going back any farther than basically 2014. We've gone all the way back to 2010 on this channel. I just think going back farther than that, doesn't really matter. But, you can see in this first, or this cycle right here, leading into 2017, we obviously broke above all of these major Fibonacci, starting with the 1.618. So the thing that we can definitely say is that within every cycle, you definitely get above or at least hit the 1.618, right? So that's not really that far away. Of course, we could talk about pullbacks. The next area for a pullback would be 62, with my lowest target of a pullback around 57. I just don't think Bitcoin's going to go below there. There's just way too much interest, way too much volume at that area, even though I don't have the VRVP pulled up, but I think you guys would agree that there's a lot of volume in this area. So based off that, with the 1.618, the fact that Bitcoin has hit this in every single cycle, it's never not touched this level in any of the cycles. That area is around $101,800. So we could just kind of round that to about $102,000. That is an area that I can honestly say, even though there are no certainties in life, in crypto, etc., I believe that that is a very bearish low base case for Bitcoin, okay? Also, in every other cycle, we have hit the 2.618. The 2.618 is sitting at around $155,000. Now, we've hit that in every single cycle as well. Where it gets interesting is the last cycle not breaking above the 4.36, which is very crazy because, as I pointed out, that level was 73,173. And I kid you not, if we zoom in right now, that is exactly the area where Bitcoin stopped on this recent rally. And my logic behind this, what I've been saying, is I believe that that is the price that we should have visited last cycle, but we never got that high. We stopped around 69. And the reason, I believe, had a lot to do with the FTX debacle, all of the things that were going on with Binance. We had a lot of crypto companies collapsing. It was a very, very rough time, right? We had Terra Luna, we had the stablecoin collapse. It was crazy. At the time, we didn't know if the ETF was going to be approved. The SEC was taking everybody to court. So yeah, I believe that that's kind of why we didn't go that last little, pop to the top. So putting that into perspective, okay, assuming that maybe we have diminishing returns and maybe we don't go to the 3.618, which, by the way, if you're curious, would put Bitcoin around $208,000, then I would say that the most average, logical, straight down the middle, diminishing return theory has happened in every single cycle that Bitcoin should hit at least, or not at least, but it should hit, it could hit 155,000. Okay. So I would say that, 1.618, there's just no reason why we're not going to 102,000 unless something, crazy happens. And then the next likely target would be 155,000. Now, after that, we have 208,000 and 241,000. But again, I'll leave that out for now. That's like the mega bullish case. Obviously the mega bullish case is like 500,000, 1 million, but just based on history, okay? The super bullish case is $240,000 Bitcoin. The most likely probable average area where we should hit is around 155. And the absolute low ball, we had one of the most boring, bull runs of all time. Bitcoin's going about 102,000. So that's basically what we're looking at just by extrapolating the data. But
I don't think he's wrong. I think 150 is more likely than not versus just going like anything crazy or anything worse, right? Once we get past 100, it's gonna be nuts. Look, our girl Miss Randy Hipper right there live on what's it called, Twitter, or X rather, while he's recording this hysterical.
Also, like Kathy Wood,
we're gonna raid her shortly, by the way.
She says that people are adopting Bitcoin to hedge against governments that are devaluing their currency. And that's the thing that I also like to point out is it's not only just the speculators in the West. And yes, of course, once Bitcoin does get up to some of these levels, you're going to have the speculators hopping out, right? But there's also those people that not only understand Bitcoin, but actually need it.
What's your analysis of why it's moved the way it has?
Okay, up dramatically.
Right.
You have the ETFs. There's something else going on around the world. There are currency devaluations taking place that people are not talking about. The Nigerian naira is down 50-60% in the last 9 months. Egypt just devalued by 40%. Argentina continuing to devalue. I think this is a flight to safety, believe it or not, taking place. A hedge against devaluation, a hedge against a loss of purchasing power and wealth.
And who else said that? Flight to quality? Larry Fink?
That's very important. And we saw this even here last year in the United States. Regional banks imploded. Right. Bitcoin went up 40%. Bitcoin does not have counterparty risk. I think, and we're putting out a piece in the next few weeks, which is...
Yeah, Crypto KJ, when she says people not talking about it, she means media is not talking about it, and that's 100% true.
This is both, get this, a risk-on asset, and so you talk about the NASDAQ.
The risk-on.
But it is risk-off. I remember we got in at $250 when Greece was threatening to leave the euro, right?
But is that folks that are speculating about currency, or is that folks in Nigeria and in Greece and other places saying, I got to get my money out of this currency and move it themselves? Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. I think this is an insurance policy against rogue regimes or against just horrible fiscal and monetary policies.
So that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you think April is actually going to be a red?
Shout out to Crypto Zombie if you guys are interested in his channel. Go check him out. He is fantastic. I did like that video and that one. All right, guys, that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. One more video. Bitcoin price after the halving revealed. Nobody knows. Nobody knows, but let's see what Altcoin Daily has to say over here.
There's only 21 million Bitcoin ever, and therefore price only go up. Bitcoin go up.
There's something strange going on with Bitcoin's price today. See, Bitcoin's been in this strong uptrend since late 2022, so why now is it stalling out right before the halving? First of all, what exactly caused this rally? Why did this happen in general? To understand this, we need to understand this. And Kathy Wood explains exactly what is going on in this clip. Nobody else is saying what she's saying.
What do you think is happening? I mean, we saw Bitcoin get up to $70-something thousand, drop down to $66,000. I was making the argument that it has been very tied to the NASDAQ. It's been very tied to the markets, and as a result, it is more likely a function of liquidity and sort of speculation than it is a function of what the Federal Reserve is going to do. Even though the Federal Reserve is sort of been moving the markets, what's your analysis of why it's moved the way it has?
Okay, up dramatically.
Right.
You have the ETFs. There's something else going on around the world. There are currency devaluations taking place that people are not talking about. The Nigerian naira is down 50-60% in the last 9 months. Egypt just devalued by 40%. Argentina continuing to devalue. I think this is a flight to safety, believe it or not, taking place. A hedge against devaluation, a hedge against a loss of purchasing power and wealth. That's very important. And we saw this even here last year in the United States. Regional banks imploded. Right. Bitcoin went up 40%. Bitcoin does not have counterparty risk. I think, and we're putting out a piece in the next few weeks, which is this is both, get this, a risk-on asset, and so you talk about the NASDAQ.
The risk-on.
But it is risk-off. I remember we got in at $250 when Greece was threatening to leave the euro, right?
But is that folks that are speculating about currency, or is that folks in Nigeria and in Greece and other places saying, I got to get my money out of this currency and move it themselves? Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. I think this is an insurance policy against rogue regimes or against just horrible fiscal and monetary policies.
So, why is Bitcoin's price stalling out? Hey, why aren't you subscribed to us? We answered exactly.
Yeah, why aren't you subscribed to us? Hold on. All right.
This
I'll let him chill
yesterday.
it for a minute.
Join the Altcoin Daily Army, turn on notifications, and never miss a daily update. Again, why is Bitcoin dipping? Watch our video from yesterday. All your questions will be answered. The new question is, because I believe this is only temporary, the new question is, what can we expect from Bitcoin after the halving? What happens after this? What happens after this? Ledger's Chief Experience Officer, Ian Rogers, has an informed opinion as to how things change for Bitcoin after the halving.
We actually saw this yesterday morning.
Here he explains how Bitcoin's mining mimics precious metals, how going into this halving, we have an unprecedented setup. Well, listen to Ian. He should just explain it to you.
When you're thinking of the halving, are you expecting everyone's going to be a flurry of anticipation to have more, to own more as the supply becomes more limited and it does drive up the price?
Well, I think the halving is a great opportunity for people to learn more about what Bitcoin is and how it works. You know, I mean, Bitcoin, it's designed to mimic precious metals in that the more you mine it, the more difficult it becomes to mine. And going into this halving is we have an unprecedented setup because we have hit an all-time high on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. Prior to the halving, which is something that hasn't happened before. In the times that's happened previously, after you have, this weekly, monthly, quarterly all-time high, you've had an appreciation of 300%. Right. So, the setup of the halving is interesting because it's a financial endeavor for the miners, and you can learn a lot from watching what the miners are doing going into the halving. And they've been investing, so they've obviously been betting their businesses on the price of Bitcoin going up, and it looks like they're about to win their bet.
It looks like miners are about to win their bet.
Hell yeah,
what happens to miners after this? What happens when it becomes 50% less profitable for them to mine Bitcoin?
The price is going to skyrocket. Look at this. Look at this line he's got. Perfect. Isn't it supposed to be miner?
Right now, about 32K is their break-even cost. After the halving, their break-even will be 64K. Supply and demand dynamics are in full effect for Bitcoin after this. Listen to what the CXO of Ledger says happens with Bitcoin the rest of this year.
If you're looking to the miners to see what they think is going to happen after the halving, then what you're doing is you're saying, okay, well, what's the break-even point for them? So at the current, at the current rate of Bitcoins being created, which is about 900 per day, the break-even point for them is a $32,000 Bitcoin. So they've been investing all year long, even knowing that after the halving, the break-even point for them will be $64,000 Bitcoin. So even back in January, when the price of Bitcoin was between $40,000 and $50,000, they were still investing, betting that the price of Bitcoin would surpass that $64,000 mark. So now Bitcoin's hovering around $70,000. And then what you have is, again, as I said, you have about 900 Bitcoins being created on a daily basis. After the halving, that will go down to 450 Bitcoins being created on a daily basis. But you have this new event, which is the Bitcoin ETFs, which are driving a demand of around 2,500 Bitcoins every day. So, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. 19.5 million of those are already in existence. All of those have come into existence via this mining process. And if you just look at the supply side, we've had kind of a we've had this demand that's been created by the ETFs, and then now you're about to have the supply shock of the halving. So I think it's very simple supply and demand, and also now Bitcoin's been around for 15 years. So it's been hardened, and we've had a long time to look at it, and we've looked at these cycles many times. So, there's no guarantee that the past will predict the future. As I said, we've never had this all-time high in advance. of the ETF. I'm sorry, in advance of the halving. The ETF is a new way to buy Bitcoin. So there's a lot here that's unprecedented. But we're definitely looking at past cycles to try to predict the future.
We've never had a setup like this before. So is Bitcoin just destined to go up forever? I mean, obviously the market goes in ebbs and flows. There will be months where nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, hey, make sure you subscribe for daily updates, keeping you informed. We'll keep you in tune with everything going on here. I love how the expert answers this question, and you let me know what you think.
We're talking about the halving because it's due in April. Look, we've had a pretty robust debate in the last week, Ian, with Jack Mallers, who was on the program, the Strike CEO. Mike Novogratz came on the show last week and made the same argument. They basically in the camp of there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever, and therefore price only go up, Bitcoin go up. For that very simple reason. But one of the interesting data points that I track at least is liquidity in the market. You know, I get it on the supply side, but there's a lot of trading that goes on basically. Are you in the camp of only 21 million Bitcoin ever, so it only go up?
Well, I'm in the camp of we lead digital lives and we will have digital ownership in our digital lives. And there is a new invention here. I mean, I think this is what people often kind of overlook. They look at only the speculative side, but I've been working on the internet since the early 90s, and I did digital music for 20 years, and I was a big part of the fact that you no longer own your music collection.
And I think people seem to forget, like when, we used to use horse and buggy back in the day. When the car was invented, that was a weird thing. It took people a little bit to kind of come around to it. And then now look, today, everybody's got a car or multiple cars in their household. Like, it's one of those things. It's evolution. It's what happens, right? Things come along, they get better. And at this point, it's the financial system, and that's Bitcoin.
Rent it.
You want to be left behind? That's on you.
So Bitcoin has been the tip of the spear of digital ownership. And I think that, we will have digital ownership in our digital lives. And yes, because you have this truly scarce digital ownership asset, which is it behaves like a precious metal. I think, look, if you own pesos, you want to own dollars. And if you own dollars, you want to own Bitcoin.
All right. Shout out to Altcoin Daily for that. Let's get into the recap segment of things. We're going to be raiding Miss Randy Hipper in a second. Look at this. Everything is green. Look at that. Nice. Hell yeah. We got Bitcoin, $67,322. We got Ethereum at $33.68. BCH is absolutely tearing it up. 10.25% up on the day. $657. We have BNB at $590. I wonder how. So again, BCH just went through a halving. If you guys didn't know, about 5 hours ago. Bitcoin Cash. Well, it says 5 hours. I don't know why, but I think it was a while ago. Maybe it was just 5 hours. Anyways, it went through a halving from 6.25 to 3.125. Exactly the same thing that Bitcoin is going to be going through. Obviously, it's a fork and just whatever compared to Bitcoin. But if that has anything to do with what happened during the halving, I wonder if we're going to see Bitcoin scream up with that as well. ETC is doing very good at $32. Again, LTC at $101. Caspa over 13 cents. Everything is looking good. Everything's in the green. Solana $188. ADA still think undervalued, 58 cents. You guys do what you will on that one, but everything is looking fantastic. Wow, core dropped 18.3%.
Bruh.
What happened there? $2.86. Crazy. I don't know if you guys are into that. And then this one. Wasn't this one up? Was this one just up? It's now down 11.4% on the day at $1.12. Interesting. All right. Anyways, guys, again, fear and greed index is at 70. We're looking pretty good overall on everything. And you guys are fantastic. Unfortunately, I got to get back to daddy duty. Well, not unfortunately, because I love my kids, but you know the deal. I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let's go raid Miss Randy Hipper. If we can get over 100 likes, that would be amazing. I need 7 more from you guys, please. Let's get that. And then, yeah, let's jump over and say hello to Miss Randy Hipper. Even if you can't stay, just go hit the like button, say hello to her. Let's get into it, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Peace out.
Eat shit, Gary.